Yeah, so right off, first impressions, just looking at it, right, the spool just lays evenly across the entire thing, so I just like seeing that in a fluorocarbon line. I really like the fact that it seems to have a healthy balance between stretch and strength, right? You know, there's some brands and there's some lines where they're really supple, they're really soft, but they're not very abrasion resistant. And then there's other ones that are extremely abrasion resistant, but they're not soft and you can't throw them on a spinning rod. From what I've seen so far this year with Mastiff, you can do both, right? It strikes a healthy balance. You can throw it on a spinning reel if you want to, because it's soft enough, but at the same time, I'm using it for all my leader material because it has abrasion resistance to it. I'd say it's probably because of the options that they offer for the line strength, right? So it's not just the heavier stuff and it's not just the small stuff. They have, I believe, from 4 all the way up to 20, right? So if I want to throw my chatterbait, I can throw my 20-pound test. If I want to throw Carolina rig, if I want to throw, you know, a tube, I can throw 12 or 14, right? And so even a drop shot, right? I'm throwing 90% of the time, I'm throwing 8. But if I wanna, because the fish are pressured, I can drop down to 6, you know, or I can go 5 or even 4 because that's one really cool thing, right? Especially when you jump into the whole spy bait deal and some of those, you know, more abstract techniques. You can drop down to 5, or if you want to drop down to 4, because I'm throwing some tiny little hair jig, you know, what I like is that versatility of all the different sizes. Oh, it's huge. It's huge. You know, everyone talks about it, but it's not too often where you get to see it firsthand on the water. And I've personally seen firsthand where, let's say drop shot, right? We're just getting off St. Lawrence River. I have seen where 8-pound test, you may get a few bites, but you don't get the bites that you're seeing on your graphs. You drop down to say 6 and you immediately start getting bit a whole lot more. And so, yeah, I think that that is a huge factor, and that's why I like the fact that, you know, they offer so many different sizes, because I can change up to whatever the conditions are. Yeah, so the one example that I think of right away is my jerkbait. I, again, do things a little bit differently. I throw 16-pound test exclusively on my jerkbaits. I just like that heavier line. Again, going along the same concept of less stretch. You know, when I'm throwing a jerkbait, I like having that less stretch. I feel like I can impart the action more into the jerkbait. And so 16-pound test is pretty heavy, right? And so throwing that on a bait caster may be okay, but then when you start throwing lighter baits like a jerkbait, especially into the wind, you may start to really see the weaknesses of some of those lines. But I haven't seen that with Mastiff, right? So I've been able to cast into the wind, and I have the distance that I would still have if I was throwing braid or something like that, but I still have the softness, right? And I still have the abrasion resistance when I'm fishing shallow around the rocks. So I have the distance, I have the abrasion resistance, it's soft enough I can throw it on a bait caster or spinning rod. So yeah, I mean, overall, I've been really impressed with it. We just gave the example of my jerkbaits. That's straight fluorocarbon. When I was fishing in the Sabine and I was throwing a spinnerbait, same thing, 14 or 16 pounds straight Mastiff. Carolina rig, usually I'll do say 18 to 14 or 16 pound leader, same thing, straight Mastiff fluorocarbon. All of my crankbaits, I'm throwing 12-pound Mastiff. Spy bait, you know, maybe I'll throw braid to a leader, but sometimes I like having that option to be able to do straight fluorocarbon, and I really like the fact that I can throw 6, or if I wanted to, I can even drop down to 5 and still kind of retain some of that strength in that fluorocarbon line. So in regards to which knots I'm using, I've settled on the reverse improved clinch for my line to lure knot. I really like that knot. The double wrap, you know, when you go through the eye, I feel like just adds that extra strength. For my line-to-line knot, I kind of learned when I was working at Cabela's. I have spooled a lot of reels and a lot of tag ends, and I've seen what I like and what I don't like, so I've settled on the reverse Albright. I really like that because those line tag ends sit flush on the line, right? And so you couple that with the nano armor technology, so you have no tag ends, you have the knot strength, and it can go right through the guides. It doesn't catch it all, right? Where you consider like something like a double uni, those tag ends sit perpendicular to the line. They're gonna grab the guides as it goes through. The one thing that stands out to me with the Mastiff that is really seems to be exclusive to Mastiff is that nano armor technology and that knot strength, right? And so I can tie a knot and cut the tag end down to as close as I want to because it doesn't matter. I know that knot is not going to slip on me, and I know it's going to retain its strength. And the knots both on my lure, my line to lure, and my line to line, I can have full confidence. And this entire season, I can confidently say I haven't had a single knot slip on me.